I made this dress from an old dress that I had in my closet that didn't quite fit my silhouette, so I decided to turn it into something different. It used to be this dress. It was a Mimi G pattern that I had in my closet that I made really quick. It was really stretchable, four-way stretch fabric. And I was like, I made it for one time wear, and I knew when I made it that I wasn't going to wear it again because it didn't really fit me. So instead of throwing it away or giving it away, I decided, okay, let me turn it into something that I can work with. So I decided that I was going to keep the bodice top part of it because I like myself fitted at the top and more fit and flare dresses or A-line, whichever you prefer to call it. So I said, okay, let me go ahead and cut this. Find out, I had to measure where my bodice top normally stops or where I wanted it to stop kind of under my bust. And I drew that line measuring so I can go ahead and cut it. And that's what you see me doing here. So I'm not afraid. I just take the scissors and cut on across. What's the worst that can happen? So now that it's in two pieces, I have to, and it's lined on the inside the way that pattern had me do it, the original pattern. So I have to take it apart on the inside and the outside so I can have it fully open to get ready to start this project that I was going to do. Because I like zippers on the back. I like zippers because I don't like pulling stuff over my head. I rather step into it. So that's what I was going to do. So I tried different methods without having to cut the fabric. Seam ripper doesn't always work, especially when you're working with that stretch, four-way stretch kind of fabric. It doesn't always work. So you either have to cut it or you have to take your time and take it apart because it will stretch and bend and then you can't find the thread. So I didn't want to do that. And I just kept trying different things because I didn't want to cut it because I figured I would need all the extra fabric. And I'd rather have too much than too little because I didn't have any more of this fabric to put it together again. So that's what I was doing. There she comes. She's always there. I said, come on in here, girl. She likes to look at the brooches that's on the wall. So as I'm taking this apart, that's what I let her do. So I finally got it apart. As you see there, it was a lining on the inside. And the lining, I left a little piece of it open because I was going to put a zipper there. So I wanted to cover the zipper up. Keep in mind, I'm self-taught. I'm not a professional. So when you looking for all those terms or acting like, okay, she could have just said, I don't know that. What I do know is how to sew. You can check my record and see. You can go check my Instagram or my TikTok and check it out. I do know how to sew. But the terms, I don't care that much about them. And there's a lot of people like me that don't know the terms, but they know what they're doing. So we're going to keep it at that. So if you don't like the terms that I'm using, this might not be for you. But anyway, since we addressed that, this is fabric that I created for another project. It's 3 different fabrics that I had to put together to create this fabric. So I couldn't find this fabric for the project I was doing, so I had to create it. And I do that a lot. You'll see me do that a lot on these videos because if I can't find what I'm looking for, I'll just make it. And a lot of times it's not out of new fabric, it's out of old fabric because I like to work sustainably and get things done. Have stuff from the thrift store or whatever in the closet, stuff that people give you so you can work with that instead of having to buy something new. Because sometimes you may not always have the money to go out and buy something new. And even if you have the money, do you really want to spend it in this economy? I don't. So what I'm doing here is I'm trying to find a piece, to break up the lines. So I said, let me do something vertical. And the small piece that I used, the small stripes that I had at first, the thinner stripes, I thought that was going to work. So I cut a little piece out to put that in there. And then as I was looking at it, I was like, that's not what I'm going for. But as you can see, so what I actually did was I took a piece of the thicker stripes, the thicker lines, and that's what I put in there. That's what I ended up putting in there because it just looked better. But you see me here, this is the process of me still trying to figure it out. And this is how I really work. I don't have a set thing that I'm doing all the time. I get my best work when I'm just playing around, just messing around and just figuring it out. Because if I have a set agenda, for some reason, I guess it's my Aquarius mind, it doesn't work that way. So, I'm not sure how you guys work, but hopefully you figure out your process by now. If you're sewing or even creating anything, you have your own way of doing it. So don't let anyone tell you that, it's wrong or right. It's just your way. Because when I first started, when people realized what I was doing, they would trying to correct me, and that's what kept messing me up. That made me feel like I was doing it wrong and I was overthinking. And I stopped for a while because that outside validation that I thought I needed because they were quote unquote experts in the field, it just kept confusing me because obviously you got to think if they come to you and they find you, it's obviously something that you're doing that they like. So don't let their opinion or whatever they, come in and try to correct you, or unless it's something that you really need. We're not saying we don't take constructive criticism, but when it's your process, it's your process. So I was internalizing that advice and it was just really throwing me off. So what I do now is I work in silence and I work in quiet. Meaning that doesn't mean the radio and stuff is not on. I mean quiet from other people. I'm talking about the human form. That's who I like quiet from. Because I can't think. You're just watching me and just over opinionating. It doesn't work for me. And I realize that, so I work in the form that best fits me, and that's how I get all these things done. That's how I, quiet the noise and come up with the process. Because you don't realize that outside opinions, people watching you or, trying to criticize everything you're doing as you're doing it versus, before you begin or towards the end, when you need the criticism. I don't need it in the middle because it almost kind of wrecks my nervous system, because now I'm trying to incorporate what you told me and hoping that it looks this way and that you approve, and that don't work for me. And I'm telling you, not arrogantly, but I know what works for me because I've done it multiple times, and you can see, the results. Even that picture of you zoom in on the wall, I made that dress with no outside help. But anyway, so we're back to the dress, and this dress actually turned out pretty good. So I have a bodice and I have a skirt, and I'm gonna put a zipper on. So I added that zipper on. Like I said, I like zipper. I like stepping into my clothes. I don't want to pull it over my head. It's just a pet peeve of mine. I don't want to do it. Putting the zipper on, and so I was checking it because when you're working with fabric like this, like that 4-way stretch, you will get a lot of stretch, and it'll look a little frumpy as you kind of see, once it's done, or if you saw at the beginning of the video when I had it on. I ended up having to. Normally, I guess I just did a quick video so you kind of see the end result. But how I would wear it would probably be like a corset or a belt or something, just to kind of give it that look to it. See, you can kind of see it here. What I did was take the rest of the skirt that was left, and I did some ruffles, and I put it on the bottom, and I created this texture around the neckline and on the back because I don't like wasting any fabric. So let's see yours. Tag me below.